One of the open source programs that I use regularly is Audacity. Almost all of my videos are recorded in the program in some way, shape or form, and honestly I love to use it. It's a great piece of free and open source software. But sadly, Audacity has done a lot of things lately that have upset its users, myself included, and to be honest, all of this troubles me enough that I'm actually tempted to switch away from Audacity, but I'll talk more about that later. The first thing that Audacity have done to upset its users is join a company called Muse Group, which is a company that makes various different things for musicians. Now, they don't seem to have any sort of a bad track record or anything, which is good, but they don't seem to be particularly well heard of at all, really. So I couldn't even really find their website when I searched them up. I had to go through a link. Now, I do admit, Muse Group don't seem like a particularly bad company. They even say on their website that they have a commitment to open source. But to be honest, I dislike any company buying out Audacity. Now, I know that I'm going to be called a communist or something for saying this, but personally I believe that community is one of the major principles of free and open source software. As such, I think that free and open source software should belong to the community as much as possible, not be bought out by companies. But that is just my view. Now, I wish that I could say that this is the end of today's video and all that Audacity has done wrong is join Muse Group, but sadly, it gets worse. Muse Group have definitely decided to start off on the wrong foot with the free and open source community, since one of the first things they're doing is adding data collection to Audacity, which in my view is just not something they should be doing. Now, I will admit, the telemetry which is being collected by Audacity is nothing personally identifying or anything too intrusive. All they're really collecting is technical details about how the software is being used, such as the session start and end times, any errors that might occur, what effects are being used, what file formats are being used, and what OS and Audacity version is being used. So nothing too personally identifiable. Additionally, all of this information is only collected if the user specifically opts in. So that's not too bad by any means, but were that the end of the story, I wouldn't be making this video. I'd probably say it's a slight disregard of the wishes of the open source community and call it a day, but sadly there is more here. You see, Audacity has decided to use Google and Yandex analytics for Audacity. And as most of you know, the free and open source community and Google do not mix at all, and for a good reason. Google and Yandex are both fairly evil as far as companies go, and we definitely should not be using their software. And we definitely should not be using them for the collection of analytics data. And the fact that Audacity is doing so shows a blatant disregard for the wishes of the free and open source community. Now, sadly, as a result of this, I think I'm going to have to find some alternative to Audacity, since I really don't want to use a program that makes connections to Google and Yandex every day. Even if the code is dormant, I don't really want it on my system, because even if it is harmless, it still encourages the use of Google and Yandex analytics, which as a community is something we should definitely be opposed to, since Google and Yandex analytics are among the most intrusive pieces of software in existence, and I really do feel that by using them, Audacity has given the middle finger to the open source community. So in conclusion, I know that not all collection of analytical data is evil, and in many cases collecting some data can actually be helpful for the developers, and I have no problem with developers doing that as long as it's on an opt-in basis. I know that some people in the open source world don't like it, but as long as it's a strictly opt-in thing, I'm okay with it. But I see using Google and Yandex analytics as being completely unacceptable for an open source project, and I can't believe that such a great piece of free and open source software would consider doing a thing like this.